It's time for episode 6, ladies and gentlemen, of the PWBA Podcast right here on Bold TV. And now, of course, heard all around the world on various podcast forums. And so please sure to download, rate, subscribe, of course, as well. If you haven't already subscribed to Bold TV, well, don't worry because we got a ton of free content, of course, coming up. And that includes the PWBA Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Aaron Smith. My name is Emil Williams Jr. Aaron, how are you today?
Doing excellent, Emil. Thank you for asking. Ready for another exciting edition of the podcast.
I am too, and we have a very special guest, of course. This young lady needs no introduction, but we'll give her one anyway, because she's done it all in collegiate bowling, a Team USA, PWBA champion. She is none other than Shannon Pluhowsky. Shannon, thank you for joining us, and how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and we'll start the show. Obviously, you know what's happening. We know what's happening. We're all at our homes at this point in time. So, COVID is still out there. It still exists. And, for you specifically, from a family perspective, what's this time been like for you at home from the family perspective? E-learning could be a possibility as well. So how's everything going at home?
It's actually been really good. Obviously, with being gone for the last few months, coaching and stuff, I haven't been around as much. So this has given me a chance to spend quite a few weeks together, bonding, learning. I became a first grade teacher. That's a little more difficult than I thought it would be, but it's been fun. And just getting to spend time together, doing different things and not having really anywhere to go or any time constraints on anything we're doing.
So what's the favorite hobby right now for you and the family right now?
We've been playing a lot of board games. We've been playing Ntca a lot. Just trying to teach them new games and not just on the computer or on the TV and Xbox and PlayStation, but actually like some board games. We have a lot, so we've been trying to pull different ones out.
Has Monopoly been thrown out yet?
We haven't done that one. That one takes a little while, but Autumn likes it a little bit, but still a little strategic for her. So she doesn't like to lose. So that's trying to work on that as well.
That's a solid trait. Hey, I like that a little bit. How about Hungry Hippos?
No, I don't know that we have that one, but that would be a fun one.
All right, Candyland. That's my last one.
We got Candyland.
Okay. All right.
All right, but you have to pick a favorite for you and for Autumn.
A game? I actually like Ntca. It's different. You don't have to draw until you find one you can play. You hit this button and sometimes it shoots cards out at you and sometimes it doesn't. You don't know how many you're going to get. May not get any. So that's been fun. And you get to choose who has to draw sometimes. So we like that.
Very cool.
I haven't heard of that game. I'm gonna have to get that.
Yeah. All right, Shannon. Speaking of things to kind of keep folks busy, we just launched kind of a new fun social thing on social media. We call it the Ultimate Queens Bracket Challenge, where we take some of the past Queens champions and we kind of let the PWBA fans vote on who they would think would win in a traditional Queens matchup, 3-game total pinfall, and it just started this week. So as a past champion, you're going to be part of this. I believe you're matched up against Marianne DeRupo in the first round, which is pretty tough company right there, but I think you'll do well. But let's go back to 2006 when you won the Queens. Obviously, the PWBA tour wasn't around then, so there were only so many things to bowl, but you were fresh out of college. Just kind of talk, kind of look back at that tournament and just what were some of the things that really worked well for you that week?
I think being fresh out of college, because we had been bowling a lot more. The tour folded in 2003, so people coming off tour didn't really have a lot to bowl, but we were bowling all the time and I was practicing all the time. So I think that helped. I remember making the TV show, obviously being nervous and bowling with obviously some really great talent on the show with Dana Miller-Mackey and Kim Terrell and Liz Johnson. And I think at that time, I was actually bowling nationals with Kim and Leanne. So I think that helped a little bit. So I wasn't as nervous, but still it's Reno, it's the stadium, and it's my first major telecast. I remember having to beat Liz twice on TV, which, I mean, at that age, I guess I didn't know any different. Now beating Liz twice on TV would be a little bit different. But yeah, just, being fresh out of college, I remember the ball I was throwing. I think I still have it somewhere. Kind of just a kickstart, not knowing, I guess, what the future holds because there was no tour.
Right.
Action, Columbia
Okay.
Action.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
Folks, this video is up in the vault on Bowl TV as well, so you can check that out. But, obviously, bowling, the format a little bit different than kind of the true double elimination. What was it, obviously you had beaten 2 Hall of Famers to set up that match with Liz. And, for how the lanes were kind of transitioning, just how everything was looking, how did you feel about that matchup? Did you feel confident you could, you had the right look to get 2 wins against her?
I mean, looking back, yeah, scores were lower. So it's not like we were bowling big games. We were just trying to stay clean. I remember having to throw I think the last 3 to win or to lock it up or whatever. And, don't show a ton of emotion. So I kind of remember that feeling when I did it, and I guess not really knowing what I did. It was all kind of a shock at that point still. Gotcha. Different than when you win with your team and you throw the strike and everybody's going crazy. Now you're by yourself and, what do I do?
Was that the immediate or one of the immediate differences besides the competition portion, but being, just from college and in that sense and used to that environment, that to then going, into the Queens environment, was that one of those key differences that you noticed from the team versus just you out there by yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Because I hadn't bowled much by myself other than team trials or, a few Team USA things. So up until then, it had been all team.
What's the difference now, you think, from that first TV show and then kind of looking back, let's say even the last few years of shows that you've made, some of the differences just, I assume the TV part is probably the same overall, but how do you approach TV, at this point in your career?
I guess then I didn't really know any different. And now TV, I mean, you always want to win, but it's probably a little more pressure now to win because I've made quite a few TV shows and haven't won. You always have that in the back of your mind, obviously, don't try harder to win, but then, you probably still feel it a little bit. So it's probably the difference now is just wanting to win even more.
I like that. So from that perspective, obviously you were a star at Nebraska, and then of course you then moved back to Lincoln in a different role, and one that and I've told you this before, but when I saw you, I was like, oh wow, that's like really dope, and probably one I didn't expect to see. But you moved back and become an assistant coach for, again, your alma mater, Nebraska. So, what went into the process of taking the job? How did it, come about? And we'll kind of start from there.
I coached a high school team here in Dayton, and I liked it. It was different. And then, I had always told Coach Straub I was interested in it. So he would kind of watch out for jobs, and, we would, when we kept in touch, we would talk about it, but never really anything serious. Then, have a family here. So would I really move? How would that all? When Coach Straub told me over the summer last year that he was going to retire at the end of August, I really started thinking about it. Obviously, started talking to the close people I had and Coach Klumpa a lot on, if it was something that could happen, but we didn't kind of know what would happen. So I just kind of threw my name out like I'm interested and let's see how it plays out. When they hired Coach Klumpa, then he reached out and asked if I was still interested in being the assistant. And so I said yes. And, probably the hardest person to tell was Autumn, and to explain it to her and how this would work and what would happen. And, she's a very opinionated 6-year-old. So she had rules and things that we had to follow. And we came up with a structure of every 2 weeks, I wouldn't be gone longer than that, or we would try our best, and I did uphold my end of that deal. I think I was able to either come to Ohio or they came to watch tournaments every 2 weeks, so that I always did get to see her. Our time together is better now because when I'm in Ohio, I don't have to work as much as when I was helping or running the bowling center, where somebody didn't show up and I'd have to leave whatever we were doing to go work. So we have more quality time together. So I think that's better. We talk every day on FaceTime. I call her every morning before school, and I talk to her every night before bed. And so we keep in touch through FaceTime a lot, and she's now learning how to text message. So we do that. And so it's been challenging, but it's been fun. It's been a lot of travel for all of us, an adjustment, but kind of got to do what we got to do to make everybody happy. And she understands it way more than any kid I would think would understand it. And so she's been very accepting of it, and she knows Mama loves coaching and Mama likes her job. So to her, that's all that matters, is Mama's happy and she still gets to see me.
All right. So two questions. One, how did you develop this passion for coaching? When did that start? And then two, give me an example of one of the rules that Autumn set down for you.
Let's start with the rules. So the rules were not more than 2 weeks.
Okay.
And keeping constant contact with her. And so we talk all the time. I'd usually try to talk to her right after school, how her day went and stuff like that. She is in ballet, so we did the Nutcracker. So trying to get home for the Nutcracker was very important. And just, making sure that she knew I wasn't leaving her, that I was just going to be gone, but we would still keep in contact. And I don't know, I guess it's my way of giving back to a sport that's given me so much. Obviously working at the bowling alley, I always got people like, hey, can you give lessons? Can you give me a lesson? And stuff like that. So just felt, helping people, and when they improve and how thankful and excited they are, I guess gives you a sense of, just pride, that you feel good that you're helping other people. And so just kind of that sense of giving back into the sport that's given me so much.
It's very cool. Obviously, kind of looking at the timeline that we're at right now, this would have been, I believe, the NCAA national championships probably would have just wrapped up in the past day or two. Obviously, we didn't get that opportunity to ultimately decide who the champion was for 2020. So for your team, what was kind of everyone's reaction? What were some of the talks like for you, Coach Klempa, and your student athletes?
It cut out. I didn't catch the first part of that.
Oh, well, kind of making the transition to in talking about the coaching. Obviously, the national championships would have been happening right now. We didn't get that due to COVID-19. So just for Nebraska itself, what were those talk likes between yourself, Coach Klempa, and your student athletes just about the season coming to an end?
So Coach and I had been talking a lot about it day by day on what could happen, possibilities and stuff. And we chose not to bring it to the girls and just keep going like nationals was happening. We didn't know any different. So we just kept preparing like it was going to happen. Obviously, we listened to the media. We listened to a lot of things. We saw sports getting canceled. So we kind of knew that possibility was coming. We were in contact with the athletic department a lot. And so kind of the day it happened, we had chose to not say anything. We were still practicing. Everything was going to be fine. And then, of course, technology and Apple Watches, it pops up. And so the girls found out, and we were right in the middle of practice. But we kind of gave them the option. You can continue practicing, or we can end it now and just hang out for the rest of the time. I think we had like 45 minutes left. So the girls just kind of got together, and obviously the 3 seniors took it a little harder. One of them was actually traveling to the collegiate singles part in Chicago. So she was on the road. So that was kind of a rough way to find out.
Mm-hmm.
But when she got back, they all got together. They told stories about the year and just kind of took it pretty good for just finding out your season ended. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. We didn't know anything at that time. We just knew we weren't going to have a national. So I guess that, they all got to go home if they wanted to finish the semester online. So that was kind of like the prize at the end of the tunnel, I guess. Like, well, you can be with your family now, and just never a good solution, but at least it was something. They weren't stuck there. And
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of cool that they, obviously everyone wants that opportunity, but the fact that they, kind of embraced it to look at the positives of the year is, that speaks a lot about your student athletes too, and having the right mindset.
yeah, it was, I mean, we don't know how it would have played out. It would have been fun to play it out, but they took it pretty good. And we've talked to them a few times. They all seem to be doing okay with it, and everybody's in the same boat technically, so can't really change it.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you have kind of put the squad in the sense of when you first started, when you first took the job, then them as a team at the beginning of the season, then to obviously at the abrupt ending of it. But how much growth did you see? And I obviously imagine that they were certainly primed for what would have been a nice tournament run.
We started off the year great. We won the first 3 tournaments we bowled. I mean, we were really good. Go to break, and we struggled a little toward the last half, but I think we grew and learned more. I think we learned more about two of us being new coaches and them, and how we all gelled. And even though we weren't winning tournaments, we were still having good ones. We really dug in right after our home tournament, or right before our home tournament, to some things that kind of had been plaguing us throughout the season, and I thought we got a really good handle on them. So we were moving in a good direction. They were ready to really work hard and be ready for sectionals. Even up until the day they canceled it, they were still working hard. They were, they bowled for 2 hours that day already, and they were in it. They were ready to put in the work.
Now, we recently announced the Ntca award winners for the 2019-2020 season, and Raquel Orozco, MVP for D1, finishes her career with another first team All-American spot as well, and something you got to experience during your playing days. And just for you, what was it like to see her compete throughout the course of this year? And for us, since this is the PWBA podcast, had she been talking about maybe trying the PWBA?
Yeah, she has another year of school, so she hadn't talked too much about the PWBA. But she was very driven and just kind of believed in what we believed the future would look like for Nebraska bowling and where we were headed, and kind of took that and really trusted that would help. She's worked a lot on her physical game the whole time she was at Nebraska, and we tried to get it to where when she was at tournaments, just bowl, just show people how good you can be. We were trying to get all of them to do it, just to show how good we are. Like, we practice at home, but let's not worry about that here, and let's see what we can do. Early in the season, we told her we need an anchor. We need somebody to anchor this team, and she really took that and ran with it. And she was able to keep her nerves calm in pressure situations, and had a really great season. So obviously ending with a bowler of the year is better news than, the season's over, but sure. At least for her, she can go out on top, and she didn't get nationals, but she got bowler of the year.
Along with Raquel, talk about all of your seniors as a whole, and if you share a couple stories about each and kind of what they meant. Obviously, to you, I would say first as a new coach and someone who is kind of being reintroduced to the program, and what they've meant, obviously individually, to the rest of the team.
They were the leaders of the team, and they helped with the transition. They had been there for a while, were pretty young, other than the 3 seniors. So just having them buy into what we were trying to say to work or would make life easier when we traveled, or just in general what we were thinking and all of that, they really bought into it and kind of backed us on it, which made the transition a little easier for everybody, I think. Al, I guess, was the senior leader. She's a little more vocal than the other 2, Brock and Steph were a little more reserved, but led in their own way. So just having all of them together, the mix of them really helped us keep moving forward and to make sure we were going in the right direction. Things that were working, weren't working. We were able to be honest with everybody and just say, well, we need to fix this. We need to change this. And so they really stood behind us, and that helped get everyone else on board of this can really work.
Now, when you talk about the transition, obviously, and we mentioned his name already, the legendary coach Bill Straub, was your coach prior to this, and I believe 5 NCAA titles with Nebraska. So for us right now, we would love to hear some great Bill Straub stories. So if you have a favorite Bill story, or one or two, what would some of those be?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I have a couple of things that kind of stuck out when I started thinking about it. Obviously, he's very tall. He walks pretty fast. Him and I used to compete in the airport. I would see if I could beat him to the next gate. I rarely ever won because I couldn't keep up, but it was just something fun to do. And we always flew through Chicago or Dallas or, the biggest airports. So I was pretty out of breath every time we got to the next gate. He always talks. I always told him he needed to talk in English because he uses words that the average person doesn't use. But he writes really elaborate. And I'm like, Coach, can you put it in English for me? Like, just use simple words for me because it'll be easier for me to understand. I had the opportunity to have him travel to the World Cup with me a couple times, obviously when I was at Nebraska. And, he's only watching me. So he was watching all the other talent as well, but some of them are older, so they wouldn't have been recruitable age. So he would be in between frames. He'd be sitting in his chair and he'd be reading his book. Never missed one of my shots, but I'd come back and I'm like, are you reading did you see that? He's like, of course I saw it. But he always had his books everywhere we went. And then probably, his outfits were elaborate too. And so I remember my freshman year, the year we made TV, he wore sparkly pants. They were black with sparkles in them. And I think through my whole time, those were my favorite ones. And I always called them our lucky pants because we won. So every year I'm like, Coach, did you bring your lucky pants? Like, we might need those. So those are a few of my stories.
The man certainly has style. I will say that. Okay, here's a question that we've seen the past few years prior to his retirement. One of the interesting moves that he'll use for a player who might be trying to work on something or something is with NCAA, they have the practice pair, but he will actually stand there and have players throw the ball at him and he'll catch it and then he'll return it and they'll do it again. Was that something he's always done?
Yeah, he's always done that. We did it a few times when I was there. Actually did it last year in Orlando, whenever the US Open was in Orlando. I think it was last year. We did it during a practice session. It might have been Vegas. We did it during Vegas. I was struggling and needed help, and he's like, well, let's play catch. At this point, I don't want to play catch because I'm not practiced at it. I don't want to hurt him, but I threw it into the ground a few times, and he luckily moved out of the way, and nobody got hurt. So we survived, and ultimately it does help in the end.
Emil, would you let me throw a bowling ball at you?
I think I would. I think I've been around you enough, so I feel a little bit comfortable with that situation. The funny thing is, I think I remember watching Shannon throw the ball with Bill, and it just caught me off guard. And then it also clicked at the same time, like, well, yeah, that's Bill, that's Shannon. Obviously, they've got history, connections together, and it made me think like, no matter how old you get or no matter how old a player is, if they've got that relationship, that coach may know exactly what that player needs at a particular time. So I thought that was one of the more fascinating things I've seen on tour. I didn't expect to see it, but it was fascinating.
I didn't expect to do it either.
That was hilarious. So what did you learn overall, you think, now that the season is complete? What did you learn in your first year as a collegiate coach? And did anything kind of surprise you about the season?
Um, I kind of knew it was harder to watch than bowl, but I learned that even more. You don't really have any control. You give your best guess of what can happen and hope, cross your fingers that you gave good information. And I learned I'm a little more calm when I'm there. Coach gets a little more animated than I do, and that, just to be like a sounding board for them, to let them vent frustrations and all that too. I've kept more stats than I have in my bowling career, probably in the way I have kept stats this year, and how important they are and how much they really help. And I've cleaned more bowling balls than I probably have in my bowling career in the last so many years, getting them ready for tournaments. And helping them pick arsenals is way easier than picking my own. I don't know why, but I seem to be able to help them better. And we didn't have too many times this year where we're like, hey, I wish I had that ball. But picking it for myself always seems like a daunting task. I always have to ask the ball reps what they think. And so those are some of the things that stood out of differences.
What about the standing part? Because when you get away from it a little bit, I feel like that might be a rude reintroduction to college bowling.
It is, and not being able to see and being squished in the settee area. Definitely, we try to sit down in between matches and stuff, but yeah, they're long days on your feet. Good tennis shoes are definitely important.
Now you mentioned the stats. What is the most telling stat you feel over the course of kind of the stuff you have collected this year? Like, what was the stat you went to most to kind of try to hammer points home?
Patterns in how the lanes transitioned. So from day 1 to day 2 to use on day 3, or just in different matches, different points where we noticed that 3 or 4 girls would change balls, or we needed to make a bigger move. Being able to look back and kind of see that. If they all weren't playing the same part of the lane, is there a better part of the lane, or just how fast to move and stuff like that. Balls.
Very interesting.
Maybe not the same ball, but the same type of ball.
Mm-hmm. I like
that makes so much sense. Just a stat that you wouldn't normally keep, so to speak. But yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That's I might even put that in my own repertoire whenever I start bowling again. That is obviously, as a player,
We can bowl again.
I know you're right. Everyone in that regard. As a player, ton of highlights, of course, for you, and I would even put you in the conversation. I think, and I've heard this before, as you could be one of the people for greatest collegiate bowler of all time. What has stood out to you as a player? Give us some of your favorite moments, highlights as a player at Nebraska.
Obviously winning is fun. So, and each time we won was different. So I would say obviously winning. I still can replay the shot in my freshman year when I made the 7-pin to win, and kind of the feeling of turning around, and it's all the hard work just makes it worth it in the end. I remember that year we didn't have a very good sectionals. We finished 3rd when they take 4, and the ride home back from Kansas City to Lincoln was the longest 3 hours ever. It was quiet. Everybody was kind of what just happened type thing. I know we qualified for nationals, but that's not Nebraska. And so we just decided between sectionals and nationals, we're going to work hard and not press the reset button. We're going to shoot every spare and just push each other to the max. And it helped out. We won. And a couple NCAA titles. The first one, the power went out when we were getting ready to bowl on TV. So we bowled with the generators on ESPN. So we get ready to start, power goes out, now we got to wait for everybody to get back on track. So just it seems like everyone had a different thing we had to overcome. Not only are we bowling on TV for a national title, but now we're bowling with generators and it's dark everywhere besides the TV set. And I think the last one I physically didn't bowl very good on, and I ended up doing one of our drills the entire show. And looking back, that was probably one of the bigger reasons why I was able to get my job done, was being able to do that and not really caring about when we were on TV. My goal was to, get my job done so we could win, and that was the way I needed to do it.
What was the drill?
I actually took the push away, so I just kind of held it out in front of me and let it fall.
Okay. What about teammates during your time at Nebraska? Which teammates have stood out or played perhaps integral roles in your athletic career, even as a person to that standpoint?
I bowled with Deandra early, her last year, my freshman year, and then she's still bowling on the PWBA tour and competitive. So I think we pushed each other. Lindsay and Adrian when they were there to have a good time, but also to bowl as well. But I think, Amanda Burgoyne is just now recently inducted into the Hall of Fame at Nebraska. So I had a lot of good teammates. My roommate, Jamie, we bowled a lot. I had a lot of really good teammates that we all pushed each other. A lot of them still bowl to this day, PWBA. And we keep in touch a little bit, and we can reminisce about different stories at Nebraska. But we had a lot of teammates that we bowled with that were instrumental in pushing me to be better, to help us win.
Now, from college, obviously, we talked about kind of the time between the start of the PWBA tour and throughout those years, you've been an integral part of Team USA. This is year number 20 in a row. When you got that first spot on the adult team in 2001, did you picture yourself here 20 consecutive years later?
No, I wouldn't think. Yeah, not then. Definitely not at 18. And I think 20 years later, I would still be doing the same things. But it's been a fun ride. I still enjoy it. I still look forward to team trials every year, being a part of Team USA. It's not anything I've ever taken for granted, and going to keep the streak going, hopefully.
Now, as far as favorite Team USA moments, obviously dozens upon dozens and probably a few more dozens of medals throughout your storied career. Just what are some of the top highlights from wearing the red, white, and blue?
Hong Kong sticks out. Hong Kong was a really good year. We won team gold, and then I won gold with Shannon and Steph before they became Shafani in trios. And then I won doubles with Liz Johnson. And then I bowled 300 in the Masters on the TV thing. When your ball roll matches up to a center, I don't know if they say that's a thing or not, but my ball roll definitely matched up to that center in Hong Kong. And we had a really good week as Team USA, and the trip was fun. We were gone almost 2 weeks, and that was one of the most memorable ones. And then Abu Dhabi, winning team gold again, Liz shooting 300. We didn't have a great week other than team gold, but, team gold is what we're there for. So definitely being a part of 2 winning teams.
In regards to the coaching staffs, because I feel that you've seen a few coaches from the start, obviously, until now. Just talk about the coaches that you've been able to encounter, been able to work with. Any stories, funny stories that you can share about those coaches and what they've meant to you.
I have had a lot of coaches. So when I first started, Gordon from Wichita really helps with the mental game. Jerry was always, lighthearted and kept us relaxed and having fun. And then I've had Rod for quite a few years with junior team and adult team. And I think, as time has gone on, we've all kind of matured into how the coaching has gone. We've kind of changed the way we do training camp. We used to bowl a ton, and we still bowl a ton, but it's a little more strategic. We get data now, and we're actually able to dive in and learn how the body works and stuff like that. So I think, through the years, a lot has changed in that aspect too, from going to Colorado Springs and being on the Olympic Training Center, which was always a great experience because you're with other athletes. But being in Texas really helps us with being able to dive in and learn more about our games and having the tools we need to just be better all around physically.
What a good point. I just want to bring up for those, who may be watching this for the first time, just, Gordon Vatican was a Team USA coach. So, that may, and obviously goes to show literally how long you've been on the team in that sense, as well as Jerry Edwards also. So it just obviously some incredible stuff. Anything from you mentioned the physical game, obviously mental game, but do you recall anything where at a particular camp where you learned something that perhaps or got something fixed, adjusted, et cetera, that you were like, oh, okay, I'm happy I'm part of the squad to be able to kind of get this particular level of help?
Yeah, I mean, in the last few years, Kim Terrell and Mark Baker being on the coaching staff as well. Just like little physical cues. I mean, you learn as a bowler over time. The things you struggled with 10 years ago are still the things you're going to struggle with moving forward. And so from my time at Nebraska to my time on Team USA to current day are still the things that I struggle with. And just having the array of coaches I've had and the way they're all saying the same thing, but they're all saying it a little differently. And so sometimes one clicks more than another and it lasts for a while, and then that ailment pops back up, and then you try something else and it goes away for a while. So I would say just that, it's the same physical things I worked on in college. I bowled a lot more then, day in and day out, but it's still the same thing now. And each coach, brings a little different perspective about it.
Now, when you look at kind of the picture of Team USA right now, obviously you've got 20 years, Shannon, Stephanie, 15 plus, Kelly, 15 plus. When you kind of look at the younger players on the team and some of the players who are probably going to be contending to be on the team in the upcoming years, who are a few of the players you think are kind of poised to make this long run and be a part of Team USA, similar to you for, 20 plus years?
Obviously, Jordan Richard and Liz Colkin being two that have made it the last, I think, 2 to 3 years. And then now, with the girls graduating out of college, the girls like Lauren Pate, Brianna now just graduating. She's been on the adult team 2 or 3 years. Julia, Gigi, all the young stars, Sydney, Brianna Cote, all of them that are on, the PWBA tour with us and on Team USA. We got a big squad this year. So, I mean, with the tour and everything, there's a lot of opportunity to keep bowling more than when we first started making the team. So I think those will be the ones that'll be on the team for years to come, and then they'll eventually pass the torch down too.
I'm curious from the coaching, like some of those players you just mentioned, and especially those, for example, who just graduated, from the recruiting aspect of it for you as a coach now, did you get into that a little bit during the season, and maybe even take us into kind of the a day in the life or a week for you as a coach now at the collegiate level?
You mean like recruiting for upcoming?
Yeah. So yeah, incoming players and obviously looking for players in that respect.
Yeah, I do think your mind switches definitely when you're bowling, because now you're watching a lot more people, not just yourself or focused on yourself. So a day in the life, we start in the morning, obviously. I oil the lanes. Okay. So I learned the oil machine and how to put patterns in and stuff like that. I had a little bit of that run in the bowling center, but I hadn't done much, but now that's what I do every day. And then we look at recruiting videos. We get emails all the time of people interested. So we have those. And, Coach and I spent a lot of time talking together, like just different things that he used to do as the assistant to now that I'm going to take over. So just really trying to play catch up because we got thrown in so late. I came in when the season started and we didn't have a lot of time to prepare like game plan and what we were going to do. So we would use the days to do it. The short weeks were really hard with traveling one weekend, days off, and then traveling the next. But we made the most of it, just kept in communication. And then we watch recruiting videos. We have, that he is so organized. So we have it all nicely in spreadsheets and stuff. So we kind of go back and forth on what we see on different people. He's been at junior gold quite a few years. Obviously I was at trials. So kind of a little bit about that. Obviously all recruiting is done until May 31st this year. So just trying to formulate a game plan going forward on what happens after we're allowed to recruit.
And when you talk about the videos, the letters, the submissions for all that, how many on average, per week, let's say, kind of roll through the Nebraska email?
And I don't know how many he gets or if we both get the same amount, but I would say 5 to 10 a week of people that are interested, been following you, and just reaching out. Like, here's my video, I'll be at junior gold, I've bowled junior gold before, or just things that they've done. A lot of them will put their statistics for high school bowling and averages and high game and stuff like that.
All right.
I'm curious if you can share without giving away secrets, obviously, because when I was trying to get recruited for college bowling, back on the collegebowling.com website, there was a forum or there was a recruit section. And so, everyone would type in kind of what you just talked about, some stats and, something about themselves, et cetera. But there obviously wasn't really a video component at that point. So what would be an ideal, recruitment type video? So, if someone says, hey, I want to make a video and I want to send it out to respective coaches, what would you suggest that they have on it to give themselves the best opportunity to be seen?
Definitely video of them bowling from every angle, not just behind, but front, sides. Not a lot, but some of the videos will have like they sit in front of the camera and like talk about themselves, and it's kind of like a job interview. Nowadays, recruiting's different than when I even was recruited. So, that's what it is now. It's sell yourself the best you can and send it out to as many people as you can and kind of get the feelers back. Right. There's a lot more schools now that are NCAA, so there's a lot more possibilities.
And now there's a lot more, obviously, competition from that standpoint as well. That's interesting. So who recruited? How did you get your recruitment out? Like, by the way, folks, she's originally from Phoenix. I don't know if everyone knows that, but Shannon and the family originally from Phoenix. How did you get recruited? What was your process like to get to Nebraska?
I bowled junior gold in Orlando and talked to Coach Straub. They were the only ones that actively recruited me. So it made the decision a little easier at that point.
Wow.
Just thought I could go that far and be away from the family.
Shame on the rest of those schools.
Yes,
I don't really have a good story.
Nice job, Coach Straub.
We didn't have high school bowling in Phoenix, so just junior gold when that first started.
I was gonna say it was in its early years as well.
Yes.
Which you won 3 years in a row, by the way. What's different about that event? What's different about that event?
Goodness.
Besides the athletes.
Yeah. There's just so many more challenges. Like, we used to have like a match play, like 24 games of round robin match play. Now it's the bracket. We did bowl at a couple different houses, but the patterns and stuff weren't nearly what they are now. No limit on bowling balls, and definitely not 4,000 people, and that's just come a long way. You really, the cream really rises to the top in that tournament. It's definitely a difficult one to win now.
Now, Shannon, when moving on to the PWBA, and we had a good conversation in one of our previous podcasts about kind of the day you heard it came back. So we kind of talked about some different situations. Do you remember where you were at the day the relaunch was announced?
No, I don't specifically. I remember, going to my boss and asking how we could make this possible, that I still was competitive and I wanted to bowl. How can we do both? How can I be competitive and bowl in PWBA, but still manage bowling center? Lucky for me, the summertime is a little slower, so I would stay involved, the first 2-3 days a week, and then be able to go bowl on tour. And, that worked out really well. So I was very fortunate that he allowed that to happen.
Of course, and we love seeing you out there each and every week competing. And through this first 5 years, what are some of your favorite moments from on the lanes?
I think just being able to be around your friends. Obviously some of my best friends are on tour. And so the months that we don't bowl, we don't see each other. And that stinks. We keep in contact, but this whole pandemic is not favoring us either. We text each other and want it to end just so we can all be together and have our summer back. So just the memories that we make, not even bowling related, but just off the lanes and the things we do. We go to the beach when we're in California or in Florida, and just, making those type of memories. Obviously bowling good is fun, and, seeing your friends win is always fun. Obviously I haven't won yet, so I can't use that, but that time will come. And then just now, obviously with Autumn, being able to take Autumn and so she can see what hard work does. She's met them all, and, she likes bowling now because of all of them, and they're, role models to her, and she looks forward to it just as much as we do. And I think that's really cool, that if you work hard at whatever it is, then dreams come true.
I think one of my favorite aspects of that, in mentioning Autumn, is that the other players on the tour just absolutely adore her, and she has so many friends, and she's running up to everyone. But one of the coolest things I always thought was, what would it, the opportunity to, get to have friends from Colombia and from Malaysia and Singapore, and having all those different countries, all those, folks, most of us didn't get the opportunity to meet as a child. And I think that's so cool that she's gotten to kind of take in so many different cultures through bowling and through the PWBA tour.
That's definitely been really good. She's learned where Singapore and Malaysia are on the map, and, those are still some of her favorite friends that she talks about all the time. And, when will I get to see them again? Or, she always counts it down. So, that part has been really cool. Just that, they all watch out for her as well. Like, she can be anywhere in the bowling center, and if she goes too far, somebody's going to stop her and say something. So that's always nice. They keep her entertained, and, they've all been really great with their ball reps. Everybody has taken her in, and she likes going, and it's a good experience for her. She gets to learn a lot more and travel.
Who's her favorite besides you?
She won't even say me. She'll probably say Shayna. If we had to ask, she'll say Shayna from Singapore. That's probably who she would say.
It's a good pick.
Emil, you really?
Shannon too. She'll say Shannon, but
okay.
Usually Shayna's the first one.
These all sound like great reasons to bring Trey on the road, Emil. Just going to say that.
Yeah.
Just going to put that out there.
I agree. Yes, I do have visions in my head about what the future could look like. Definitely bringing him to work a couple of times if we can make it happen. I was looking through some photos of last year, and there was an event I think I was not at. And it was either maybe Louisville or Orlando. but she was bowling in the Fan Fest. Speaking of autumn, and there was a couple really good shots of her throwing the ball, down the lane. So yeah, it sounds like she's bowling. I assume she's bowled youth league and is enjoying it, like you said, right?
Not yet. She doesn't bowl
Okay.
youth league. She used to bowl like every Wednesday when she came to the center. She would bowl. She likes it, but I'm not sure if she likes it enough to do it every week type thing. She likes to bowl pro-am because she gets to bowl with her friends.
Right.
So she was bowling at the bowling alley, and she told me she had to switch lanes because that wasn't her lucky lane. She wasn't on her good lane. We had to move lanes, and I think then she got a spare, so she was like, see, that's not my good lane. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Maybe she has been hanging around the PWBA tour a little too much.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hitting that bad
bit.
pair.
Yeah.
From the family perspective, you talked about some of the sacrifices that you guys have had to make, but your own family in regards to, parents, your sister, we always see them at events. Now we see Carrie at events as well. So just talk about maybe the Pluhowsky family dynamic and, why you guys are so close, because I feel like not every family is like that. So, and I appreciate it and enjoy seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a pretty close family, and obviously my parents both bowled, my grandparents bowled, so everybody bowled, and they've always supported everything my sister and I did. My sister did hip hop, jazz, dance. She didn't do it quite as long, but they just always have supported. And, I think being avid bowlers, so they've just been around. They've always gone and supported me, and I enjoy having them. Now not living there, I don't see them as much. So whenever they can make the trip to go to a tournament, it's, we get more time together and we get to have fun. And it's just always been something I, never take it for granted, because you don't know what'll happen. We lost my grandma last year, and she was always around as well at tournaments. But it's just kind of something that we've always done. We don't have a big family, but we've always just supported each other in everything they've done, from my aunts and uncles in Kansas to my aunt and uncle in Phoenix and my uncles in California now. And then just all the grandkids, or all the kids, nieces and nephews and all that, have been supported. We've had a lot of sports players throughout the years in our family, and we've kind of all just supported each other.
Hip hop, jazz, dance. Okay, Tiff, I'm gonna have to ask her about that.
I can't dance at all. So.
Yes, that was my next question.
Yeah, no, you got all of that.
Did you play any other sports, and or did she play any too?
She bowled a little bit just for fun. I played all the sports in middle school: softball and volleyball and basketball. And I actually went to high school to play basketball, and I jammed my middle finger on my left hand and actually chipped the bone. And it was the summer, I was just getting ready for summer ball before I was going to be a freshman. I couldn't bowl for 6 weeks, thought I might have to have surgery. Luckily didn't have to, just had to wear a splint religiously, which is obviously really hard when you're that age and can't do anything you like.
Right.
And I'm solely left-handed, so that was the biggest challenge. And never played basketball in high school because the doctor said if I had surgery, I may never bowl again. And so I figured I liked bowling way more than basketball and didn't want to risk not ever bowling again. So
which sport were you better at that particular time?
Probably still bowling.
Okay.
I was fast at basketball, but I'm not very tall, so that doesn't really get you very far in basketball. So I was fast, but that was about it. And so I just decided that bowling was it, and I was going to bowl.
I'm not going to lie, before Aaron gets to his question, that is a little bit disappointing for me to learn this information, to know that you potentially could have been on the other hardwood. And I have these visions now of you on the court. Like right now, I can see this with the lefty stroke from three. Now I won't ever get to see this in life. I'm so disappointed. All right, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Yeah. And yes, I could tell you were beat up over that.
Yeah, you saw it on my face. I know you did.
Our previous podcast, we had Josie Barnes on, and we were kind of similar, talking about some favorite Team USA moments, and she mentioned Sunset Station, I believe in 2013 for the World Championships, and there was a little video that came out from that particular event, and we were just talking about the dancing as well, and there was a Call Me Maybe video for Team USA. So from your perspective, I've always been curious, talk about the production of that whole thing, kind of how that came together, and just, what was it like? What were some of your favorite highlights from being a part of that viral video?
Yeah, I didn't choreograph that at all. We kind of just got told what part to do, and I said, give me the simplest part, the easiest line. I think Deandra was probably behind it. Probably Josia helped a little bit. And then I remember sitting in the bleachers, and Tommy and Bill maybe, and Leanne and I were in the bleachers, or Liz and I, or somebody, and just the easiest line. We didn't have to do too many outtakes on it, I don't think. We kind of just did it and let it go, and if it turned out good, it turned out good. If it was funny, that was okay too. Couldn't really get Tommy and Bill and all them to do too many outtakes. So kind of, we all went along with it. But
all right, for some reason that whenever I think of Sunset Station, that's the first video I think of. So as we have more and more players on this,
that's the only video I think of when I hear that song.
but yeah, I like getting the background details on this video, because yeah, it was definitely something cool, definitely something fun, and then working in the bowling highlights too was a good time.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
Quick question in regards to Team USA. So we talked to Danielle McEwen recently on the podcast, and of course she is kind of known for the many countries that she's visited. And obviously, over your course of your Team USA career, there's been a few countries you've been to as well. So, to talk about your favorite travel experiences as part of Team USA, or other experiences for that matter as well. Favorite countries you visited, and maybe a couple of cool stories if you have as well.
When I bowled the World Cup in Singapore, so who knew back then that I would have some good friends from Singapore, but
how about that?
I really liked Singapore. My family went, and it was Christmas time, so just the way the city was, and it was all lit up and decorated, and so I really liked it. A nice city, country. They build up more than out because they don't have as much room to build out, so we just really liked it. Clean and friendly people. And then Hong Kong, we have a lot of good memories in Hong Kong of walking and just doing touristy things. Whenever we traveled, we tried to do some, but Hong Kong seems to stick out as the time we actually got to do the most things. We did a glass bottom, like elevator ride over some water. We walked up to the Buddha and just went and did walking around and seeing things.
Nice.
Very cool.
Favorite ball as a youth bowler, favorite bowling ball as a collegiate player, and then favorite now as a professional.
So I'd say probably as a youth player, I would go with the 3D hammer offset. It was the one I bowled 300, 800, my first 300, my first 800 with. And collegiately, I would say the Green Messenger. It started out as our practice ball. As my freshman year, that was all we were going to use for practice, and mine became one of my favorites, so I ended up traveling with it a lot, using it for spares. And then now, professionally, I would say the Purple Hammer, the urethane Purple Hammer. One
of those I probably could have guessed, but I certainly wanted to hear what your answers are going to be. I had one other item in my head. So last year we did Liz Culkin took us on a tour at the Nebraska bowling facility, on the PWBA tour for Bowl TV, and she showed us this device that Coach Straw built to help her eliminate a massive drift. Was there anything that you saw Coach Straw talk about, potentially build, or to help other players, even yourself, get rid of, certain habits or anything like that, because that contraption was, unexpected, certainly during the tour. And then he gave us the story behind it.
When I was there, no, we didn't really have anything like that, but that is now to help his safety, or was to help his safety, because it's how you play catch instead of using him. So I think he learned through the years that playing catch is dangerous. So, and we had a couple of girls use it this year. But there wasn't really anything. I mean, he would walk beside you and like hold your elbow and stuff like that, but there wasn't anything back when I bowled that really stands out as crazy.
Okay. Last question before we get to Aaron's final. This is a hypothetical question from one of our Bowl TV viewers, Chris Pulliam. And he asked basically if you kind of knew at the Tour Championship, for example, this was the last event of last season, if you knew what we'd be going through now from the pandemic perspective, wouldn't be able to bowl, would you have changed anything or done anything differently, kind of knowing what you know now, if you will?
At the Tour Championship?
Yeah.
So like Richmond?
Yeah. So that's your last bowling experience basically on tour.
Which wasn't a good one because I had just fallen off a scooter like 2 days before, and I was hurting. But no, I don't know if I would have done anything different. I mean, obviously winning would be different, but I mean, I don't feel I bowled bad. Brianna bowled good too. We went to 5 games and had a really good match, so I don't think I would have done anything different.
All right, Aaron.
All right, Shannon, we've been finishing up the podcast with kind of a standard question to learn a little bit more about our PWBA players and what they're watching. So what is the Shannon Pluhowsky binge watch recommendation?
Well, as you can guess, I don't get too much TV time by myself. So, but as a family, we've really gone into like game shows, or Autumn likes Lego Masters because she likes to build Legos. So we watch the Masked Singer, Lego Masters. But we've been finding different shows on like Netflix. We found a show called Awake. People are awake for 24 hours, and then they have to to count quarters and stuff. So that one was really interesting. We watched Mental Samurai. It's just another game show type thing. And we like Last Man Standing. So that's one that we started at the beginning and we have slowly been watching.
Very nice. As far as game shows go, what's the favorite?
She likes Ellen's Games of Games right now. I think she likes just to watch people fall down and do silly things. So
never go wrong.
That's one she likes to watch, so.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the time. Aaron, any final thoughts?
Just thank you, Shannon. Thanks for kind of telling or bringing us into the life at Nebraska there, and kind of the transition to becoming the part of the coaching staff here in the past year, and of course sharing your stories from Team USA and PWBA, and obviously letting us know a little bit more about Autumn too. Always, as mentioned, we always love seeing her out there on tour, having fun, making friends. So thanks for taking some time and joining us here.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shannon. Please stay safe, of course, and please give our best to the rest of the family. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 6 of the PWBA podcast. Again, I want to thank Shannon Pluhowsky. Big thanks, of course, to Aaron Smith. My name is Emil Williams Jr. Next week, episode 7, we will be joined by the Director of Operations on the PWBA Tour. She also doubled as a PWBA player herself and has got a few titles to talk about. We'll speak with Ms. Tennille Milligan, of course, next week. Until then, be safe, everyone, and we'll see you next time on the PWBA podcast.